Cool. You ready?
Yes.
All right. You look excited.
Yeah, I'm always excited for the podcast.
You have to come a bit closer to the microphone.
Is it recording?
It is.
Nice.
How are you today?
Oh man, like the heat is building up. It's so warm. And do you hear the thunder rolling outside? Or did you hear it before?
I heard thunder, but I think that's because I was playing Stardew Valley.
Stardew Valley Thunder. What is this game? You're so excited. You're so hooked to it.
Yeah, it's like it's just like a farming simulator game, and I think I've been playing Harvest Moon, for example, since Nintendo 64 was popular. And basically, you just play a character who's inherited a farm, and you have to build it up from the bottom because your grandpa kind of just neglected it, but he left it over for you. And then you find a spouse, you raise kids, you make your farm successful, and then, yeah, you get to know the people in the village.
So it's more like a simulation game, or
Yeah.
But what makes it so addictive?
I think it's nice because there are a lot of like goals that you want to accomplish. So right now I'm trying to I think I've gotten like the main objective of the game finished. So now I'm just trying to build a farm that I like, and that takes time because you have to raise money, and in order to raise money you need to grow things, and if you want to make more money faster then you have to collect certain resources. So it's just a lot of steps in between for you to get stuff.
I always, when you play it, I always hear the background noise, and
Yeah.
it seems very soothing. So that might be a game that it's not like an ego shooter. It's something that
No.
calms you down. Is that why it makes you so
Yeah, for me I like that it like
excited about it?
I have to like it's something that I have to like focus on. So in my head, whenever whenever I'm playing it, I'm planning in my head, okay, what do I have to do this, and when am I gonna do this, and what's the most efficient way of doing this?
So it involves a lot of strategy, a lot of planning.
Yeah, and I think I think it does get a little bit intimidating for new beginners, but yeah, once you get into it and you start to just push yourself, it's really addicting.
Yeah.
I think it's like a common thing for people who start Stardew Valley are a little bit intimidated, but then once they get into it, they play for like hours on end.
How long were you playing now? I mean,
I don't even know.
in total.
It's a lot. I haven't looked at the hours, but it's a lot. But I did go through a phase where I kind of like got bored, so I left it for a bit, and then recently I started playing multiplayer with some friends, and I feel like that makes the experience a lot more fun. So it kind of reignited that I don't know, passion.
Can you tell a bit about like the background of the game? I remember you mentioned that the game was basically produced by just one guy, or
Yeah, there's one guy. He goes by the username Concerned Ape, and it's gone through many different versions. So the first version was very, I don't know, very basic, but it had the general idea of having this farm. And then over the course of, I don't know how many years it's been out already. I think I want to say 8, but I feel like that's the wrong number. But
Okay.
it's just been changed over time, and even now they're working on a current update. So yeah, it's a really cool game.
what other games do you like? Is it more like role playing or
Yeah, I like to play more RPGs, I would say. So it's role playing games. So the thing though is like I'm not as much as of a gamer as other people are. But when I lived back home, like with my siblings and stuff, it was my brothers who were really into gaming, especially console gaming, so Xbox, PS4. And if they had a game and it looked interesting to me, then I would play it. There's one game that I liked that was called Fable. Which one was it? Fable 3, I think it was. You just play a person whose brother is ruling this little kingdom, and then you have to figure out why he's doing such a bad job and why he's being this like bad king. So yeah, games like that. I like ones that have a story to it. But at the moment, I don't have enough money to afford a PS4, which is something that I would like to get, but
Yeah, that would be cool. I mean, gaming for me, I used to game a lot, but now I'm a bit less of a gamer. But I think I like also Command and Conquer, stuff like that, where you have, or like Civilization, stuff like that.
oh yeah.
But I think now I'm a bit more into reading, but I think I like really both. But PS4 would be fine for the
Yeah,
foreseeable future, maybe.
Yeah, maybe we can both save up for that. But like I know you also played a lot of FIFA and stuff.
Oh yeah, FIFA is also cool. It's a game that I really like to play, but when I played it last time with my friends, I was so like into it that the next day I really felt it in my hands. They were kind of like cramped, and then I felt it gets too intense sometimes. But whenever I see you gaming, it's totally different. It's like the opposite. You're very like you're this kind of happy gamer. You're very much about like building up a world, and like in Stardew Valley, you're raising a family, building up something, whereas FIFA is mainly it's more like in a competitive game, or like these beat 'em up games that I used to play, like Tekken or Street Fighter.
Yeah,
but I think,
you haven't seen me play Tetris with my friends.
Okay, yeah.
Because I think when it comes to the more competitive stuff, sometimes I play Tetris with like multiplayer, and that's when I get very violent. But yeah, I think
I cannot imagine you being a violent player, though.
I wouldn't say violent, but I do get very angry. But I don't know, it's more for just fun. I do remember playing hours and hours of Guitar Hero a while back. And I remember I was back home and my brother came into the living room and there was just like a few of us. He was like, who do you think in our family plays Guitar Hero the most? And it was like the most passive aggressive way of saying that I play too much. But it was funny. It was true. I did play too much.
So there is an addiction level that goes with like gaming, I think.
Well, I think it's designed in a way to try to keep people playing it, so...
I really like when we were watching this Detroit, like
Detroit Becoming Human. Yeah, that's a good game.
Yeah, I think for the future, the development gonna be like more games like that, where you do have to make your decisions, where you can influence more, like the outcome of your protagonist or whatever, and I think that is a really exciting development also for gaming, I think.
Yeah, I think what was really cool about Detroit was that it is like one of those decision games, but it was unlike most games where you pick what happens next, because with previous games you would pick something that's supposed to affect your future, but in the end there are still so many things that will stay the same. So you can say, okay, this will change the path of your future, but in the end it's not really that big of a difference. Whereas with Detroit, if you did make a mistake or if you did choose something, that actually affects the entire storyline, and it was very, very complex and well thought out. So I hope that it will be an example for more games in the future.
Yeah, the company that made it, they are famous for it, and they are very much into this. How often do they publish a new game? Or
I don't know. You're asking the wrong person. But they are known for having good games with good storylines.
Less output, but more like
quality
games. Yeah, that might be it. But I think that gaming, I was recently also thinking about like gaming, like Detroit. It's very exciting because it allows you something that you cannot do with, for instance, reading. Like literature, it's fixed.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you have got like postmodern literature where you can have different open ends,
choose your own
meta
adventure
storylines. Yeah. And the rest is done in your head. But in Detroit, you are really in this position where you can have totally different outcomes, and play it again and again, and you're gonna have a different storyline.
Yeah.
I remember this guy who's this art guy who is in his studio and who makes this android go somewhere, pick stuff for him up, and that was really amazing. That was
like
one
in
of,
the game.
yeah, in the game.
Okay, yeah.
That was one of the best I've seen so far, and I think that I kept thinking about it because the way they presented Detroit as this dystopian futuristic city was really special. But I'm not I don't have so much background knowledge. Maybe there are more games like that out there, or
There are some, but yeah, again, I don't play enough games to really know which ones to point out to. But yeah, I think what's really good about gaming in the past few years is that it's really become more of a cinematic experience rather than just, I don't know. Like it's changed so much since the 80s, and like the graphics are incredible.
oh yeah, you can't even distinguish anymore. I mean, it's nuts. You see it and what's like, how is this? You're a programmer. I mean, you know pretty much into this matter also, and then where is this development heading in your opinion?
But I'm even though I'm a programmer, I don't think I'm the person who can answer this because like I never really took that many computer graphics courses and how to run computing engines faster and stuff. So yeah, I'm really not the right person to.
If you would design a game, like if you had all resources, like what would you do? Like what would be truly interesting for you?
You're putting me on the spot here. I feel like I think you're asking the wrong person these questions because I'm really not an expert in games. Like I kind of find something that I think is interesting and I really just more or less tag along for the ride. I'm not really the type of person to go out and try to find something in particular.
Would it be more something like Stardew Valley, or
I don't know. Like what kind of games would you be interested in?
Yeah, something like Detroit. I think something like, I am very interested in this sci-fi dystopian, like I always like these sci-fi movies, like the new ones, like we watched Ex Machina, I'm a big fan of Tarkovsky's cinema, like Solaris or Space Odyssey, Interstellar, one of my favorites. So these sci-fi movies where, I don't know, like there is something to it that I really like because it's so hypothetical about the future, but when you think about it, some of the stuff actually came true. And even like some of the designs of our future were shaped by how they're presenting it back in the day, because some of these movies that I mentioned are a bit older. But I think it's very exciting because the future will be also shaped by the way how we are looking at it through literature or through the perspective of a certain movie. Because all the guys like that are making these decisions, they of course they also watch these the stuff before, right? So,
yeah.
But for gaming, I'm also not 100% sure where this development is heading. Maybe it's going to be more virtual reality, or who knows?
Yeah. Well, like there are just like a lot of different areas of gaming, and I'm not really somebody who is interested in a large section of it. For me, the most interesting ones that I've seen have been the story-based ones. So things like Overwatch, Fortnite. I think they're fun for people to play, but in terms of story, there's not really much that's interesting for me. Same with games like FIFA. Like those are games that I could play, but they're not things that will leave a lasting impression on me. What I can think of, the games that I've seen for the past year and a bit have been I can't remember the names. The one, the one that God of War.
Oh yeah,
That
we
one
watched it
was
together. Yeah, that
that
was
one was
amazing.
good. And I like that they explore the mythology. I think that's really interesting for me. There's also a game that I like called Little Nightmares, which is the story is something that kind of unfolds, and you as the player has to put the pieces together because it's not really a narrative that will just tell you everything. It's yeah, like there's no dialogue for you to really understand what's going on, but
Yeah.
you just put the pieces together for to in your head to understand what's going on. Those are the stories that are interesting for me. And I think there are a lot of those types of games, especially for indie games. That's very common. So, yeah.
Do you think it's because what you mentioned? Do you think it's also you want to play a game where you can learn stuff from? Because from FIFA, basically, apart from handling your joystick, you probably won't learn that much. Or is it like you want to build a world, you want to get something like also more like from the dialects have to be good, and they were getting better and better throughout the last years. And do you think that this plays a part also?
Yeah, I guess so. Well, like with FIFA, I think FIFA and Guitar Hero, for example, they're both games where you are really just learning to you're learning a skill. So you're learning how to strategize your team. You're learning how to play certain songs, and there definitely is a fun component to that. I just think that for me personally, the games that really keep me interested are just the ones that are story based. I've always been more of the based kind of player, I guess. But then again, I really never played. I think you overestimate how much I actually played games as a kid. I did play some like online games such as RuneScape, or just like chatting
Zelda?
games. I didn't play Zelda.
Oh, okay.
Well, like we had a Nintendo 64, and then you had Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. I think both of those were on Nintendo 64. The thing though is that because since I have two older sisters, my older sister was always the one who would kind of play, and I would be the one watching.
Watching. Oh yeah.
Maybe that's where I got my like Twitch.
That's
like,
why we also getting into Twitch.
yeah, just because like it's just like watching my siblings play it.
I think it's such a cool thing. I remember my brother was always playing on his Commodore. Commodore?
I don't know.
Like this is like the really old kind of computer games. So I was always looking through like the people, and then I could see if the
You're watching him play through a peephole?
no, I was watching through it if the light was turned on, because I can immediately see the red light through it, right? And then if it was on, I could just like go in, and then I could just watch him play.
What do you mean? Like, oh, you would like look into his room to
Yeah.
see? Why did he like not let you watch or something, or what?
No, it was more like, yeah, I'm gonna sneak in when I saw like
How
the
old
red
were
light.
you?
Maybe like I don't know, maybe like junior high or something like that.
Okay.
But then it's like this experience. I also like more to watch other people play, and I think that is what is mainly like the Twitch principle, right? You're coming or you're meeting with other people and watching somebody else play, right? So
Yeah. I feel like lately with Twitch, it's like watching a game is part of it, but I'm really there to socialize, I find. Whether it be with the streamer or with the people in chat. And I think that's yeah. I think because sometimes the games for me aren't that interesting, but I often am in watching a stream just so I can chat with people.
And do you think that this real? I mean, the main principle of having a community coming together and watching somebody else and meeting up, like, is that what the main idea of Twitch is? Because I'm not. I just got to know Twitch through you, and the more I think about it, the cooler I think it gets for me, because it's it has more like a community component to it. You
Yeah.
guys are talking. Like, how does it work for you? How
The thing
how
is,
did
like,
you get into it?
Yeah, I
at
don't
first?
like. I don't know if my experience is the same as a lot of other people's. I think there are definitely people who will you like kind of turn Twitch into this more social, where you're actually meeting people in person. I think though it's less common in places like the States where everybody's so far away. But since we're in Europe, for example, like Celine and Romy, like they live nearby. So
Where do your friends live, if you can explain that?
oh my god, where do they live? So they live like everywhere. I have a lot of friends who are in Australia. I have friends who are in Europe, in the States, some in Canada. I don't know. I just remember like when I was making Christmas cards for everybody. Well, not everybody, for a good portion of them.
How many did you make last year?
I don't think I counted it. Do you remember?
Maybe like 20 or so.
Could be somewhere around there.
But it's so amazing, because when you can, maybe you can elaborate more how this Twitch community evolved and how you got first into it, and now you met people in person. Like,
Yeah.
maybe you can talk a bit more about how that took place.
I think it really depends on the channel. So the one that I was watching, this is Critic Zeus. His community really enjoys talking to each other, and that has been that way since I first joined. I have been in other people's communities where that's not really the case. You're really more there to watch the streamer. But for example, my friend Owly, who's from Portugal, his channel is also very community based. So everybody's talking to each other. And whenever there's somebody new, they are friendly to them. They're saying hi to them. And I think after a while, when you're watching somebody regularly, you just you're experiencing something together. And sometimes people will share stuff about themselves, and that's how you start to build conversation. And yeah, for me, a lot of my friendships really kind of strengthened because we are all on Discord, which is just this kind of...
Or you have what's it called, like you meet and talk regularly there, or...
Yeah, like you have different groups and you can chat with people, and it's just like texting people, or like having a group message, but instead of just having it as a text message, it's all, you can split it up into different categories. So yeah, you can have like a general conversation, or you can have a place where you're just posting images and it's just something where everybody can I don't know, either share stuff from their own life or find stuff from the internet and just share stuff together. I think it's just like how you have a group WhatsApp, like a WhatsApp group, and
yeah, but now it's like, for me it's so fascinating. Like, even if you look at like from like a sociological perspective, like you meet people that have so much in common, but at the same time they live in totally different place, like Australia, South Africa, the US, and everybody is fluent in English. Everybody there is a certain set of rules. There is a certain understanding towards each other. And is it like a safe place for you then, or like how would you explain this experience?
Yeah, I don't know how it would have been if I were still in Canada. I find that maybe here, because I'm in Germany, it is kind of like this safe place that I have, because here is where I'm just speaking English, and it's something that I'm most comfortable with. I do have friends who speak German, but it's so much mental effort for me to maintain these friendships because I'm always speaking in German, and I don't want to switch to English with these friends. I really want to make sure that with my German friends I'm speaking German, which isn't always the case, but I would like it to be like that. But when it comes to Discord, and as I discussed last time, I'm very much a type of person who is more open when I'm talking online, because I feel like I can just speak freely without having to worry about how I phrase things, because I can erase stuff and
So there is a common awareness of, or there is something like that unites people in this realm, or how?
Yeah, I think a lot of my friends, like, we've taken those like Myers-Briggs tests and stuff where they find out your personality and stuff. A lot of my friends online are introverts. But yeah, we're not all similar, but we're all we have different interests. And what's interesting is that even if we have different interests, we can share what we're interested in. People are very supportive of it. But yeah, different age ranges. And
How is that like?
How is what?
The age range.
What is it, or how?
How big is it?
Well, like, the youngest person that I know of my group of friends is, I can't remember, 16 or 17, something like that. And then the oldest, like, it'll go, I think it's usually in their 30s, but I believe there are some in their 40s. But most of my friends are within the, like 17, 18 to maybe like early 30s.
And you met some of your online friends in real life, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I've met, where I'm trying to go back to where I started. So I've met Anna, who's in the UK. I also met my friend Button, who's also in the UK. And I met, I guess I won't go listing names, but I met people in the Netherlands. And when I went to TwitchCon in Berlin in Germany, I met a lot of people there. I hope to meet more people in the future. It does get very exhausting, though.
Yeah, what was that? Your experience from going from online to meeting people then in real life?
I don't know, it doesn't really feel any, like, it doesn't, I don't get nervous about it. If anything, it's more of like excitement. And then when you actually meet them in person, it's just like meeting a friend that you haven't seen for a while. But yeah, like I said, meeting people from online hasn't really been something weird for me. As like, I meet up with people who I've been talking to for a while. I don't just meet up with people randomly on the fly.
So do you think that this is for introvert? You said you're more an introverted person, but also you've got some really extroverted traits. But do you think it's a good way also for our future, when to meet up, to find new friends?
Yeah, I think what's really cool is that the friends that you're making online are friends who tend to have the same interests. And I think it's just giving you more selection rather than the people who are there around you in your physical space. And yeah, I don't know, like, I don't think it's just for introverts. I think it's easier for introverts, but I think technically I'm more of an extrovert, but because I don't think a lot of people are as likely to go out and try to meet up with people. It's just something that I'm particularly interested in.
Yeah, maybe it also depends on your mood. I mean, if you've had a bad day, or you have something on your mind that keeps you really busy, then you're most likely not go out and talk to people. Whereas when you had like a brilliant day and everything is fine, then maybe you're more likely to also project it, like from everything, and then maybe even people would talk more to you.
Yeah, I guess like the way that I define introvertedness and extrovertedness isn't something like a mood. It's more of just like having tendencies. But in general, I think I am slightly more extroverted than I am introverted. But because I really do have this desire to have social contact with people, the only problem is that it does get very exhausting, the traveling that goes into it. Having to, I don't know, worry about how you look and stuff like that. I think there are a lot of factors that kind of just make the whole, I don't know, experience tiring after a while. But I feel great when I meet up with people, and when we're doing voice chats, like I really enjoy.
Yeah,
chatting
what,
with
what's
people.
the stuff that you're doing regularly? If you might explain a bit on that, like when you have a meetup with your friends, what do you usually do?
For the past while, when I meet up with my friends, it's usually at a place that I'm not most familiar with. So we're usually exploring the city together, or yeah, like the ones that I have been meeting that aren't in Germany, they've been showing me around. When I was with Romy, we were at the Christmas market, and yeah, I think we just have to find an activity that you can do together. Usually it involves just like walking around. When we were in Berlin, a lot of us were there as tourists, so we were all just doing the regular touristy things. So checking out the Berlin Wall and going to museums together.
Clubbing.
No, we didn't. None of us did clubbing.
To the Berghain.
No. You like were the type of person who's really into clubbing.
Yeah,
I
I think when we talk about extroverts, introverts, I think I'm more extroverted.
You are definitely more extroverted than I am.
probably.
No, you were like definitely more extroverted than I am.
Yeah, I had my clubbing phase, but now that phase also over. But I think that for a while I really like clubbing, going out.
What do you like about clubbing?
I don't know. I like the fact that it's this unknown. Like you go out, you don't know whom you're gonna meet, and then.
So this is like as somebody who's single.
Yeah, exactly. Like now I'm not like a.
But yeah, so
big
like,
clubber
were you only interested in clubbing because you were single?
Maybe that might be the case, but the thing is, like the only thing is when you when you compare like the pros and cons of clubbing, I think it's the serendipity where you don't know what is happening, and I think that going or exploring this more unknown, like you don't know what's gonna be happening, right? So I think that this was kind of like the thrill of going out on a regular basis. And then I was kind of like collecting the clubs, like we went to it was in the US in some places, Vegas, Moscow, and also in Germany. And I think now that I think back, there are some disadvantages. Like you're just next day, you're totally tired when you come home at 6 in the morning and so.
Yeah.
But I think, it's something that I experienced a lot, and I think it's nothing that now looking back at it that I would truly miss.
Yeah.
But it's just an experience, like a part of my life that also
a chapter of your life.
A chapter, yeah, exactly. And I think, for a while also we had some like difficulties within the family, and then it's also, of course, it's a way to not face the reality and trying to be somebody else. It's like this in Germany. You've got escapism, and then it's like in Germany we have this carnival where you're wearing this disguise and you're somebody else, and nobody knows who you are. And
nowadays it's a little bit different, I find. Carnival.
Yeah, it's gotten a bit different. It's
gotten a bit lazy, I find.
Yeah, like they all buy the
those onesies or whatever.
Yeah, these disguises that are already like prefabricated, and I think maybe when you're young and you're wearing your unique disguise, it's very exciting, but now I see a lot of people wearing the same disguise. Or what do you think? Like, is that something that you also realize now that you're how many almost like 5 years in Germany?
5 years, but I can't say that it has, like, I can't really compare what's happened in 5 years because I don't think that much has changed. I don't know. Carnival for me is it's interesting to observe from an outside perspective, but like for me, I just never really was into the whole, like sure, maybe dressing up would be fun, but I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm so stingy. It's just I was never really that excited to spend money on a costume or something.
Yeah.
I really enjoy like when people actually put effort into like makeup, for example, or they do face paint or something like that. I do find, however, that a lot of people just they just find like a onesie costume and put that on, and then they call it a day. And then there's also this huge like drinking culture that goes with it, which I guess is fun for students, but I think I'm getting too old for that stuff. Because
from the Canadian perspective, what do you think about that? Like in Germany,
about drinking and stuff? I
like
think,
especially during Carnival. Do you think it's too much, or
no? I think it's like, as long as people aren't like getting sick and stuff, like sick.
passing out somewhere on the street?
Yeah, like I think it's fine for people to have this event where they can really let loose, and it's nice that nobody really shames them for having fun unless you're being really, I don't know, destructive. But I feel like in this area, when people are selling Carnival, not just like students, but also older people, they're also having fun. It's something that everybody is kind of on board with. But like, I think like there are definitely Canadians who enjoy drinking. I'm just not somebody who enjoys it as much, probably because it affects my depression and stuff, and I get tired the next day, and the next day I can't really do anything. So
yeah. When you first experienced Carnival, which is a thing in this particular area of Germany, did you have a totally different image afterwards? Because Carnival is mainly just in like 4 cities near the River Rhine, or is that something that you didn't expect from Germans, to be so like playful? Or
not really. Like I don't know. I didn't have this image that Germany was very strict and boring. I think Germans think the world thinks of them like that, if that makes sense.
It is, but it's just a matter of fact. Like there are some stereotypes.
Yeah, there are stereotypes, definitely. Like for example, with the grocery store thing that I mentioned last time. Like in the grocery stores, people aren't like, "Hi, how are you? How's your day?" unless you know them. But otherwise, they just get the job done. But that doesn't, for me, that personally doesn't mean that they're not fun. They're just, there's a time and place to have fun. And I feel like that's just how it is. I don't know. Like, what I've noticed is that Germans kind of have this mentality that they work hard and play hard. So like during the day, they're really, they really put in a lot of, I guess they don't really like slack off. They really work. But then once the day is over, they're all like having a beer and whatnot. But for me, it was never this image that, even though that Germans have this stereotype of being, like it's that joke with the light bulb. It's like how many Germans does it take to screw in a light bulb?
Yeah.
And it's like 1, because we're efficient. We don't like humor. So,
yeah, but you know, like from the German perspective, it's always like, okay, we want to be not as our stereotypes think we are, and we are trying to be more unpredictable now, and we are trying to be more American. And I think that it has pros and cons, but I think it's especially for our younger generation, that is probably a very common theme, that the stuff that we watch, like the movies, the TV shows, all these pop cultural phenomena, they're mainly American. I mean, there's not much in the German culture or media apart from more like historical material that goes out into the world, so to speak. Like it's still very much based on war material, like movies and stuff. So I think that it's also maybe because our language is a bit more restricted. We are a very small language group, whereas like the English speaking world or the French or Spanish speaking world, they stretch more. They have different countries where this language is spoken on. Whereas Germany is mainly based in Germany, Austria, and some parts of Switzerland. So, what do you think that doesn't play a part in that?
Of like how widely spoken German is.
Yeah,
Or,
I mean,
like there is definitely a subculture of people. Like it's not like all Germans are watching American media. There are a lot of, like, if you talk to a lot of younger kids, they're also watching a lot of German produced media.
YouTube.
Yeah, YouTubers and stuff. In terms of big productions, though, yeah, it's not as successful. There are some movies that are German, but they're not. Yeah, they're just not as well known. But it's still the case that when you go to the movie theater, you will find things dubbed in German, whereas you won't find that in all other countries in Europe. For example, in like Scandinavia or in the Netherlands. I could be wrong, but
Yeah.
I think they don't dub everything, do they?
Yeah, I think it's one major thing that we get everything in German. So I think that Dutch people, Scandinavian people, respectively, they usually watch it in English. So yeah, it could be the case. I'm not saying that German like media they of course they want to have different source material, but I think it's just hard for them to get through or to pass their material to maybe like bigger studios, because still there is a thing about like Germany being mainly related to a certain time period, or to have more like historical material. So but I think now it's changing. So we have all these like TV. There are some really good shows that are trying to break the mold and trying to be more like an American show, more contemporary. That's what I like. Not having everything related to history, but also shedding light, having good character development, good storylines, and yeah. So I think that this is changing. But when we think about it, what did we watch? So mainly we also enjoyed like more TV shows or movies from the US, right? Or
Yeah, and I think also if you want something to be successful, you want it to appeal to some like the group of people who watch this successful material. So if a lot of people are watching American media, and if you want to appeal to these people, then you have to make something that's similar to what they're interested in.
yeah, I mean, they had successful Scandinavian shows like the girl with the dragon tattoo that was then turned into like an American version, because they say it's even impossible to have a breakthrough in the American world or somewhere in the US when it's mainly like a European show. So they're gonna they definitely gonna change it. So that's definitely a thing. So. And I think also one factor might be that the competition there is much higher. Like you look at the games that we talked, or all these phenomena, they all come from the US, and they are
not all of them.
Not all of them. That's true, but it's still like talking about the American culture has, of course, a lot of now stuff that you can criticize, but on the other side, it's still like hotbed for innovation, for creative writing and stuff like that. And I think I was always admiring the American way.
When you were growing up?
Yeah, I think we grew up with the American lifestyle, and this, even if it's just an idea that it's like unlimited possibilities. And I listened to a lot of rap music from these groups, and I was fascinated by these big American cities, and whereas Europe is still a bit like, it's just like a bit more like the old world versus the new continent, the pioneer spirit or something like that.
What do you think of German rappers, by the way?
I'm not so like into rap anymore, right?
Okay, yeah.
But I think there are some cool rappers, but I think German rap is still pretty much, now there is a phase where there's so much German rap. It's by far like the most sold genre, I would say. And I don't know about the quality, but I feel like it's still based in this gangster sphere. Like it's still very like masculine rap with the big car. Whereas like in the US, like Childish Gambino or Kendrick Lamar, they are more like I think they getting more into this social political arena. Whereas I watched this Netflix documentary, The Evolution of Hip Hop, where they show there are different like stages of hip hop.
Yeah.
Like development wise, it's like it was gangster rap, then there was more like consciousness rap or something that's more like critical towards the society. And I think that German rap now is more into this gangster rap, which is it's fun to watch, but I think when you look at the Americans now, the American rap scene, it got more into like, so I mean there's so much like this gap within the American society already, of people that are marginalized and stuff like that. And I think that the American rap now has turned more into like not this like hyper masculine macho type of rap, but also being also more critical and having more awareness of like the social conditions. And I'm more into this type of rap, to be honest. Or what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think like it depends on what I'm looking for at the moment. I don't listen to, like, obviously when I look for hip hop dance material, or like I do look into the more old
You're a
school.
Dancer, by the way. You're a hip hop dancer.
Oh, I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do dance hip hop, but it's something that I am interested in. I don't think I put enough time into it as I would like to. It's strange because I find that my interests and hobbies are a bit too spread out, and I don't get to focus on one in particular. So it's like the jack of all trades, but master of none.
Oh.
So that sort of thing. But yeah, with rap, I think there's always a time and place for whichever style that I want to listen to. Sometimes I do just want to listen to that kind of aggressive sort of
Just
rap.
like blowing out some steam.
Yeah, but then also there's what I like about Childish Gambino's music is that it's very emotional, and he does talk about like one of his, I think it's a common theme. He often talks about how growing up he wasn't white enough to fit in with people, but then also in the Black community he's not Black enough. So is the struggle, or
really torn apart between those worlds.
yeah, or even just like a story that happened when he went to camp and he had a crush on a girl, and then the girl told her friends and they made fun of him. Like small things like that, or even like I think it's really about the technique and the thought that goes into it and making it really personal. I think that's what's really cool to listen to. I don't listen to just rap though, so it's not like it's my one thing to focus on. I think there are a lot of artists that I haven't listened to enough yet, so yeah. But Childish Gambino is one that I like in particular. But yeah, what was your experience when you lived in the US?
Yeah, it was cool. Like I said, I really enjoyed the American culture before. I was fascinated, like most Germans were, because we had a time where everything here seemed a bit like you're stuck, and in the US everything is a bit more in flux. There's more opportunities for new ideas. And when I went there, I think it was still, there is a, maybe the expectations, the bar was pretty high, but I think I really enjoyed the mentality of the American people, like talking to people, being open. Some people call it superficial, but I think it's always good to have people talk to you during, like, when you're in the elevator or whatever, or having just like basic small talk. And that's something that sounds like a cliche, but I think that I truly enjoyed that. The US was always very interesting for me, but I also enjoy Europe, which is more traditional. I like to go to the theater here, to the opera, something that in the US you pay so much, for instance.
It's so expensive.
Yeah, it's
like,
so
well,
expensive.
actually, when I came here, I was like, it's so cheap to go to the opera.
It's like, that is in Europe, like the culture component. You can go to the theater for €4,
if
basically,
you're a student.
if you're a student still. But Germany has such a high number of opera houses, theater places, every city basically, because it was like the state system. Like Germany was like separated for a long time, and then every small city has a pretty vibrant cultural life, I would say. Not to mention like bigger cities like Berlin or Munich or Cologne. And I think that like the US, I think very much about like commercial and big cities. It's just different, like lifestyle wise. I think it's just different.
Yeah. And Germany also wants to be known for their symphonies, and so
I go to a Mozart opera later, so Così fan tutte. I'm really excited about it. So we can combine both here. Like we can listen to the American rap, and we can also go to the opera. That's I think something that it doesn't exclude. It's just a way to have very different approaches and to try to connect these parts in your life. Makes it really exciting, I think.
How did you get into like listening to a lot of opera and symphonies? Is it just because your family did it a lot, or?
Yeah, probably. They were big. Actually, only my mom was a big fan of opera and classical music. Then me as a child growing up, then I didn't like it so much for a while. But then when I started studying at beginning of 20s, once in a while I go back to it, and then I started to be hooked by it and really enjoyed it in the way that I was listening and enjoying really the music, just not about like the whole like storyline, but just like listening to it. It's just like an experience where I can zone out, relax, and that's what I'm gonna do later. What's your plan for later? Today, by the way, holiday, Pentecost, so Germany, everything is closed.
Yeah, today I think I'm probably just we have a performance coming up in a couple of weeks, so I have to kind of go over the choreographies and try to make sure that I don't screw them up. And then playing Stardew Valley.
Getting better and better, connecting the Stardew Valley.
Yeah. No, yeah, but I'm pretty nervous about this performance because I don't feel as prepared as I was last time, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I have to practice. I think it'll be okay.
You're gonna rock it. You're gonna rule it.
I'm always like, I always get so nervous before
do you have like stage anxiety, like stage fright, or
like some people get really excited and they're like jumping around. I'm jumping around because I'm just like so incredibly tense, and then I'll get into this mode where I'm
panicky, or
like I'm just quiet, like I don't want to talk to anybody because I'm just
so focused.
I'm just so like afraid, and my mouth gets dry. I had this problem where like my mouth would always get dry when I'm dancing, and then I mess up because my mouth is dry and I'm so focused on that. So I learned a tip. I had to look this up. You have like a Tic Tac in your mouth when you're.
Can I say that to you? Or like just take chewing gum or something?
No, not chewing gum, because you might choke on that. With a Tic Tac, it's just really small, and so like, but it gives you something for your like for yourself to salivate on, so that your mouth doesn't get dry. So that's what I did at my last performance, and it helped. So
Tic Tac is the fresher tactic.
Yeah, so I'm probably going to do that again this time.
Sounds good.
All right.
We're going to keep you updated, all the plans.
Yeah. And I hope you have fun at the opera. All right, if you have any questions, just comment, or you can tweet at us, or however you like to communicate your questions.
Leave us a comment.
And we'll talk to you guys next time.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.